Do you know what?
Is it? No.
We have brand new intro music this week. I forgot all about that till now.
Dude, this could be amazing or a terrible disaster.
Are you ready to hear how I edited it?
Hi.
Okay. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That's the podcast that explores itself, explores ourselves, and explores the self in general. My name's Ty. I'm going to be your host.
And I'm Distance, the worst anything ever.
Oh. And tonight is the Metacast movie show about The Outsiders. The Outsiders is a 1967 coming-of-age novel written by...
Ty, it's The Outsider.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. Here we go. It's this one. The Outsider is a 2018 horror novel written by Stephen King. The story
Ty.
Yeah.
It's not a book. What are you talking about?
Okay, hold on. I got it. This one. Okay, The Outside is a horror crime drama miniseries that premiered on HBO in early 2020.
When have we ever done TV series on this podcast?
Movie. I'm sorry. You're right. Here we go. I got it. The Outsider is a 2014 action crime drama film directed by Brian A. Miller and written by Craig Fairbanks.
Wait, what?
This is The Outsider, right?
That's an outsider. It's not the one that would. I thought we discussed this.
Hold on. I think this is the one.
Yeah.
This is the one. The Outsider is a 2018 action thriller written by Andrew Baldwin and directed by Martin Zanvili.
Yeah, it stars Jared Leto, Tennonobu Asano, Kippei Shina, and Shiori Kutsuna. The
tomato meter for this movie was 17%, with an audience score of 68%. So This Outsider tells the story of Nick Lowell, an American in post-World War II Japan, and his involvement with the Yakuza. Let's see here. Where's my right screen? Oh, I fucked up.
Neither a novel nor a TV series or the wrong movie.
So the one funny thing I do about things like this is I don't like the name of this movie, and the joke was to kind of point that out, that it's not original at all. There's multiple things very similar or even called The Outsider, and in this movie I think there's a word that is used multiple times and a line that points out the much better title for this movie. Why was it not just called Gaijin, which is the Japanese word for outsider, which I think just would have been a much better title and would have been, at least in American markets, which would be the biggest release of this for Netflix, would be uniquely searchable. It seems like a strange title to me.
Yeah, and I mean, it gives you a sense of what the movie's about, kind of, too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like, well, I mean, considering the American market, I feel like people would think it was a martial arts film, honestly.
Possibly.
If they saw that. But yeah, it's like I'm not a fan of the title. I mean, anything else involving the film, yeah, but the title, not so much. It's just too generic. I think people are running out of good titles for films. We're running out of words.
And then, so title aside, as far as trying to give this movie a recommendation, I did enjoy watching it, but I have to give this one a no. I did not feel like it was as good as it could have been. And as far as when I asked myself, would I recommend it to someone? I really would not. Yeah. Where do you land on this one?
Well, this is a momentous occasion, and we need to remember today. Because for this one, I enjoyed the film, and I thought there was a lot of things that it explores that are like kind of important social issues. I'll explain more later in the episode, but I'm gonna definitely say yes for this one. This is the first time we've disagreed. This is crazy.
We do disagree. Yeah. So yeah, we'll wrap up the spoiler-free area. If you want to see why we disagree, watch the full episode. But yeah, let's get into it then.
I can't believe this is happening right now. This is insane.
Well, I mean, it's not. So it's not like a bad movie or anything. I'm not saying that it's horrible, but there was a lot about it that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and that I didn't necessarily enjoy.
Oh crap!
I saw that, dude. This is such a momentous occasion. It actually blew your light bulb.
My light what the? Oh shit!
Oh hey, what's up, Lee?
Yeah. This is not good. I think this has happened once before.
Is it actually the bulb, or is it just?
No, it's a freaking LED bulb. I think it's the lamp.
Oh. LED bulbs do tend to last longer than the lamps they're put in. I will give you that.
Oh my god. It's like it's not getting enough current. Ow! Jesus H! It's hot too.
LED bulbs aren't supposed to get hot. That's interesting. Maybe it's getting too much current.
Well. This is.
It's all good.
How to handle this situation. All right.
Well, do you have either another light bulb or another light source, or we could just do it dark? I mean, it's not like, ridiculously dark.
Yeah. This is going to bring us to the end of another episode of the.
That was perfect.
No, okay, I can. Oh my god, that's. Oh, ow. Okay, all right, I got this. Give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay, no worries.
Oh, how embarrassing. On the air, too.
Yeah, we are having just a little technical difficulties. It's okay. I'm going to remember to hopefully edit this part out. This will be my test to myself. If you're hearing this in the audio version of this episode, I completely fucked up and forgot to edit this part out. Hopefully all of this does not exist in the recorded version. We'll see. So Lee, how are you doing, man? Is there any chance you watched the movie with us this week? Did you watch The Outsider?
Ow! God damn it!
Distance may have died. I hope he's okay. What the hell just happened? I'm gonna text him and make sure that he's okay. I'm not sure what that was. I think his phone is right there at the computer. I think I just heard it vibrate. This isn't good. I hear him. I don't know what to do. I hope he... I hear something. There he is. Okay, we have signs of life. He is okay. Or he's alive at least. I don't know if he's okay. Oh, Lee, sweet.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Are you okay? What happened?
Did you hear all that?
Yes, I even texted you, but you didn't have your phone on you. It vibrated. I could like hear it vibrate next to the computer.
Are you okay, dude? I heard a loud noise. Okay, I see that.
There was a loud bang. Yeah.
You probably noticed the temperature of the light's different.
I like it though.
Yeah, I had a 5K bulb in there before.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I was like, what the hell can I do? What do I do? I was like, oh wait, my vanity in the bathroom has light bulbs.
Okay.
So like I just took the vanity light out of there, but I had to climb on top of the bathroom counter. And like as I climbed up there, I slipped. Fell directly on my butt.
Ooh, that sucks, man. I'm sorry.
Right on it. And my shoulder that was bothering me is bothering me a little bit more now, but that's okay.
Damn.
The show must go on.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for putting your life and limb on on the chopping block for production. I appreciate that.
To the chopping block. Hope you didn't have to. I hope you didn't have to vamp and stall for too long.
No, I basically I let the audience know that if I did my job, all of that should be cut out of the actual audio version of this. So in case you heard any of that, yeah, we should be back now to the actual episode. We're back. So yeah, we were just starting. Basically, you hate the movie, I love it, and I need a No, I'm just kidding. No. But yeah, we did disagree, I guess, on recommending the movie. Which I do think that, I mean, the point you started to bring up, that the movie does explore some interesting things. I will give it that. It's definitely, it's not like, and that's where, I like the fact that we do just kind of have a binary, yes, no with our recommendation, but it's hard because, this movie is not in the same category as The Greasy Strangler to me. But I'm gonna give both a no. You know what I mean? But it's like, this movie I think is way better than that, and I think it's a much better watch than that. But it's hard to lump things together, to give them a grade when it's just a binary pass or fail, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, it's simpler for us, but I guess movies are like a little more complex than that, right? But I think that I have a feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have a feeling that Jared Leto's performance and his character is part of the reason why you said no on this one, right?
No, I think Jared Leto, well, okay, his character, yes. His performance, I think, was great. I think that was honestly probably the only draw to this movie for me was Jared Leto's performance. I feel like the premise, I don't think was very interesting, really. And I mean, even just, writing the summary, there's not really it's not like a super in-depth premise. It's just like, okay, there's an American, he's in Japan after the war, and he ends up joining the Japanese mob, basically, or the Yakuza. It's not like, hearing that elevator pitch, I'm not like immediately like, oh yeah, I want to see that movie. That's just kind of like almost any generic action premise to me, I guess. It's not like, I'm not immediately drawn to I'm not immediately interested in the story. But I do think the best part of it literally was his performance. I think that he was great in it. And that was kind of like the only redeeming factor for me, at least.
Yeah, well, I guess I didn't necessarily. He played the character that he was playing well.
Yes.
But I had a feeling that you probably didn't like the character or the way it was written.
Yes, I didn't. Very often in action movies like this, I think I kind of realized this about myself while watching specifically this movie, and it made me think back to like other action movies that we've watched. But I think I really like the everyman approach, where it's easy to put myself in the shoes of the protagonist. But in this movie, I found myself constantly either questioning, not understanding, or just not being able to defend the main character's actions, and really not understanding, I guess, why he acts the way he is, or like his motivations for things. And it's just like, other than like, I guess a good example I think is Driver. Even though the driver in Driver is like already part of, like the quote unquote criminal life or whatever, all he does is drive a car, and he ends up getting involved in some stuff that's a little above his head. And like, it's easy to put yourself kind of in his shoes and be like, oh shit, what would I do in that situation? And like a lot of his actions, you understand his motivation and what he's doing. And this, a lot of the things that Nick ended up doing seemed weird and out of place to me, and I couldn't understand really what his motivations were, I guess.
Yeah, this is a 2 sparkling water episode for me. I'm gonna need 2 of these. Yeah, so yeah, I understand. Like, I think it's all too often that people want a protagonist that's somehow like relatable and that doesn't seem like they're doing wrong or doing bad things, and you want to have some kind of representation of some kind of goodness in any of the violence.
Exactly. Yeah, even if they're doing bad things, it's kind of like the Walter White or the main guy from The Sopranos, I think, kind of started it, where it's like it's the anti-hero that you can relate to. They're doing bad things for good reasons, or
even something insignificant. Like, I mean, look, I get that he just slaughtered a whole bunch of people in the nightclub with a firearm and the body count's rising, but they killed his dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Like, even something as small as that just makes everything okay. John Wick, someone kills his dog, steals his car. Or it's like the movie The Protector with Tony Jaa. It's like, well, they took his elephant, so he should beat the shit out of hundreds of people in a movie.
But like even those movies, like as memey as that is, I do feel like they do a better job at putting you on the protagonist's side, or at least like the emotion is there stronger than in this movie. In this movie, I didn't understand why he was the protagonist and why I was like on his side, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, like, I wasn't really necessarily on anyone's side. Like, I thought of this movie as more of like a Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, or like Remember the Titans. Like, that's how I thought of this movie. It was like the Gaijin, the outsider, that there's all these judgments that people have. Even Akihiro at the beginning, when he gets angry at Nick and he says something along the lines of "speak Japanese" or "I'll like slit your throat" or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And everybody's like, the outsider, the Gaijin. And then there's even at the beginning of the movie, his ignorance of the culture is the reason why he saved Kiyoshi.
Yeah.
Because he didn't understand, this is a gang killing in prison. You don't interfere.
Yeah.
Like, these are crime syndicates that are seeking revenge on each other.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, the movie starts out with a noble act, but I think you start to figure out later that maybe Nick isn't such a great guy.
Yeah.
But for okay, fun fact though. Okay, the car though, right?
Yeah,
the cars
were great. Yeah.
It's like the one that they're in most of the movie. It's an iconic vehicle. But get this, something that I figured out, and because I was curious about that car. That car is a Chrysler Imperial.
Okay.
The movie takes place in 1954.
Yes.
But that is a 1958 Chrysler Imperial that they're using.
Oh, really? Yeah. So either just like prop department fucked up, or they're so powerful they were able to get the prototype car. Does that speak to the level of power these guys had?
I mean, maybe. Actually, I didn't look at the 1954. It might not be nearly as cool. I think that this is just one of those cases where they thought this looks cooler than this one.
Yeah.
So
and even though it's not like
period correct, the 1954 is not cool at all. It just looks like a regular car from back then. I mean, by our standards, it's cool as fuck. But like, it's cooler than a Corolla. But...
And it doesn't necessarily make sense to move the plot forward 4 years. You want it to be like closer to the end of World War II. So yeah.
And you start to figure out that like maybe Nick isn't a very good guy, and I think that makes it a little more complex. But for me, I don't even think of Nick as being the main character. I don't even think of Jared Leto as starring in the film.
Okay.
Because I think that a lot of it, for me at least, you see a lot of sides of like old Japanese culture.
Yeah.
Because a lot of you don't see as much prejudice in Japan as you did then.
Okay.
Like I think like in the 1950s, basically everybody was kind of racist.
Yeah.
Or prejudiced in some way, because the world was still very large then, and you weren't used to seeing people that like looked different. Like when some people on the continent of America all of a sudden see these like pale white-skinned people in these weird clothes, and like they're on these strange vessels that have these big sails on them. They're basically fucking aliens. You know, it's like, what is up with these people? And they're looking at each other, and the only thing that they can see is like, this human is way different than me. I mean, how
Yeah.
they even called it the new world, or finding new worlds, is what people were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one thing, there's some stylized stuff that they do at the beginning. Do you notice his like white T-shirt with the rolled up sleeves and the aviator sunglasses hanging off of it in the beginning?
Yeah. He
I'm
wears
like,
that once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
With
like,
the baggy khaki pants and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like I just saw it and I was like, fucking Gaijin.
Yeah.
That's all I could think. But you know, it's like I think it's interesting to force these individuals to recognize that there is someone that doesn't look like them, that barely even speaks their language,
Mhm.
that can still become someone close to them, part of their organization, someone that they actually call brother.
Yeah.
And the thing that he shows in the film is, you know, cultural assimilation. When you move to a new area, a new country, a new place, you should assimilate to the culture.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a normal thing. So he recognizes the fierce loyalty that is valued in their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And he, you know, takes it seriously, hacks off not one, but two of his fingers.
Yeah.
Which that shit grossed me out. Dude.
Yeah, that was a rough scene. Yeah.
Like that seems like, and they make like crackling noises. Like the technicians that did the sound for that scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Applause to you. You did a great job.
Well, I think Jared Leto acted that scene very well too. I think the first
pain kind of thing.
Yeah, well, like the first one, he's able to make a face that like very much pops out veins in his forehead and looks like physical pain. I don't know, you know, where he goes to do that, or like, because I know some actors like actually do cause themselves physical pain to do things like that. You know, like they'll like reach in a pocket and pinch themselves or like things like that. But so I don't know like what his method is, but it was very believable though. Not that I've ever seen someone cut their finger off, but you know.
Oh, I see people cut their fingers off all the time, man. Maybe he took himself to Suicide Squad. I don't know. Like, oh god, I never should have taken that role.
Reading the reviews on Suicide Squad, that was the pain in his face. That makes sense. Oh my god, I would love. That's a great edit. I want to take that scene of his just close up face, slow it down, and just Photoshop in just like the reviews of Suicide Squad coming in.
That would actually be really funny. You know, it's the other thing is there is this degree of like hyper masculinity that was expected of males in Japanese society for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And I'm fairly certain that it's would be considered like extreme weakness for him to show any like signs of pain.
Okay.
Like gasping or yelping or anything as he cuts his fucking finger off. Which, because if you notice, like when Kiyoshi does it, he doesn't even blink.
Yeah.
Of course, he also disemboweled himself in prison. So there's that.
Yeah. Dude seems to be a master of self-harm. Yeah.
Yeah, that shit was fucking gross too. Like there were a couple like really cringy moments in the film. But you know, I think that they did this thing too with when they go to the card like parlor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's the guy in there. They make a point to make you dislike him more than you dislike them.
Yeah. Yep.
Like the writers actually like they're like, oh no, he didn't get his mistress pregnant. Yeah, you raped her and that's why she got pregnant. That's what we were told.
Yeah.
And then like everybody leaves and he says, pay your debts to, oh my god, Shiranitsu, isn't that the name of the family?
Yes. Yeah. I did not jot that down too.
Stab the hell out of the guy. That shit's pretty gruesome. But do you notice like it's really weird because in that scene when Kyoshi's stabbing that dude, Nick almost looks like sadistically interested in it and then picks up the money, but then the next scene he's in the bar. Oh, it's Shiramatsu, that's the name, sorry.
Oh, Shiramatsu, thank you.
But in the next scene in the bar, he's sort of sitting there like with his drink like like he has this look on his face like that was fucked up. This is disturbing.
Yep. And that was another thing about this movie that kind of bugged me is it wasn't not even necessarily the Nick's motivations and understanding, but it was also like I didn't understand his character felt about a lot of things too. And like that was actually one thing that I noticed that in that scene, and I was thinking that the movie was going somewhere with like exploring his like psychopathic tendencies in some way, and it just never ended up panning out. So I didn't understand if that was supposed to even be something I was picking up on in that scene or what, but yeah, it never seemed to really be a plot point, I guess.
Yeah, and there's a few things in there that were a bit odd, like when he tells the penguin walks into a bar joke.
Yeah, I didn't understand why Kyoshi was telling everyone to laugh at the joke. Like he already at that moment was someone they needed to respect in Kyoshi's eyes, and I didn't really understand why, I guess.
I think that in that scene, like he just kind of felt bad because I mean the dude saved his life,
Mm-hmm.
and a Japanese person wouldn't have done that in prison because they would have understood what was happening.
Yeah,
They would have seen the guys, they would have known what the tattoos on them meant that were leaving the bathing area and been like, okay, I'll just stay out of there.
yeah.
So I think in some way it might have been just because he was grateful, but it's funny because he actually says to everyone like in Japanese, like, yeah, it looks like the penguin, like, and he was like, as in like, yeah, we all get it, but it's not funny but whatever it means, just laugh, everybody laugh.
Yeah.
And that scene to me was actually kind of funny, but the part where the Seizu guys come in,
Yes.
and there's a scene where the guy that's doing all the talking calls Nick a little white kitten.
I don't specifically remember that, but I could see that.
Pats him on the head and he says something along the lines of like, oh well, he's one of us, he's a friend, or he's doing work for us. And then the translation, I'm assuming it's correct, and it recognizes is 1954.
Yeah.
The guy from Seizu actually calls Nick she. It calls the character her or something like that. And I think that they wrote that in there because, I mean, look, Jared Leto's he's a pretty guy,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
pretty dude. So
Very.
the fact that he has, because I don't know if it's bravery or foolishness, he decides to smash a glass in that dude's face in the middle of the bar.
Yes. Which that was another scene I thought was very strange. There were just moments that I don't know if it was the editing or what, but it seemed like parts were missing from the story that would have made stuff make more sense. And at that moment, he was still so new and had not really been like accepted by them or anything. So it seemed weird for him to be the one to like initiate that. You know what I mean? Like it seemed like you did say that, he recognized the importance of loyalty, and I guess may have been trying to emulate that to gain acceptance. But it just seemed like in that situation, knowing the seriousness of like the people you're around and what they're involved with and everything, it seems like that was a huge ballsy move that it's like it may not have been accepted. Like, it seemed like, very big risk to take that just didn't make sense for what position the character was in at that time, I guess.
Because I mean, I forgot about that scene from the first time, and the second time I watched it this week, I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Oh," because I legitimately thought like that he just let it go and that was it. But I guess that was you could tell, like even by tone of voice, he could tell that guy was making fun of him.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the cute little white guy, So I think that maybe in some way he didn't want them to view him as weak.
Yeah.
And he thought that like that he should like show some kind of strength or whatever, like or at least not let the guy get away with it. Because I mean, he's with a bunch of gangsters. I'm just like,
yeah.
But
but that's what I'm saying though. The point that I was making though is that like I would have to recognize, no matter what, if I felt my toes were getting stepped on, there is a much bigger situation than just me. And if the other people from this family that are obviously rivals are not initiating a battle, it would not feel like it's my place to do. You know what I mean? Like I guess that's what I'm saying. Is like it felt like it was like a better place to let that go. But that was obviously the right choice because that's they respected him for making the choice that he did.
Because it is like that's a very slippery slope, like in that situation too. Because if you notice, like I think if one of them had gotten killed, it would have been different.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's where it's like it'd be so easy to misread that situation and just let your own pride cause you to get into bite off more than you can chew, I guess.
Which to some degree I think it was his pride that caused him to do that. I mean that had to have been part of it, if not the whole thing. It had to be part of it. But like I also I think that the difference of opinion we have here is that I think that I felt like the story as a whole developed okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best story ever, but
Yeah.
I think that your biggest problem with the film is that the characters don't really develop that much.
Yeah, and honestly, and that's what I was trying to say as far as like the kind of critiquing our rating system too, in which, you know, it's not necessarily that I think it's bad or anything. It's just that it's hard to, the way I look at it is you know, the question it's asking me is am I recommending this to someone? Would I tell the general audience? And that's how I view it too, which the should you watch to me is almost like the focus group room of a, you know, a wide net of people. Do I think most people would enjoy this movie? And that's where I would say no. It's not necessarily that I didn't enjoy while watching it, because I have sat through plenty of movies that I was like, you know, Jesus, when is this over? Like, holy shit, this is taking. And I enjoyed watching this movie. It just, I don't feel like I could necessarily say like I would recommend this to the audience at large, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that this isn't really necessarily a movie for everybody, and I think that a lot of people would feel like you do. I think a lot of people feel like I do about it. But I mean, it's also that this film didn't really do too great, like with ratings. I mean, I mean, it's not the worst rated movie ever.
No. It's almost in like the cult status, where the critic rating was very low, but the audience score is relatively high.
And it seems that I have brought a few cult type movies to the show, and I think that that's one of the reasons why. Because Craig didn't like Drive because it's a cult movie. Like, I mean, not because it's a cult movie, but I brought a cult movie, and he just isn't he didn't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
So, and apparently I did. And maybe the same for this movie, because I when you see when we do the Blade Runner, was it 2049?
Yeah. Yep.
When we do that one, you'll see that the character that he plays in that movie, that it works. It's similar to how he played Nick, kind of.
Okay.
The delivery of the lines you'll see is very similar.
Okay.
And after seeing, I'm trying to think, when did 2049?
Was that 2016 that came out?
Yeah. Because I don't remember thinking about his character in Blade Runner.
Okay.
When I watched this movie, but I don't know why the hell I didn't, because the way he delivers the lines in a few spots is kind of like that. But I mean, and it's funny because you look at Drive, you look at this movie, the protagonist is kind of similar. It's very underplayed, very quiet, sort of brooding.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe I just think it's cool because I never shut the fuck up. And I just think that someone that is like, you know, quiet the majority of the time, like the mysteriousness of it.
That's who I want to be.
Yeah, I was like, if only I could. But there are some weird little things they put in there, like the scene of the Kabuki people, like they're doing the Kabuki's with the masks.
Oh,
with the heavily painted faces and the kimonos, and they're like going through. It looks like a combat sort of scene together where they both have daggers out. I don't really know why they put that in there. Like, to me, it felt like, oh yeah, audience, this is definitely in Japan. Like,
exactly.
That's kind of what I felt like they were doing. Like,
I got that feeling too, that some of it was just like almost heavy-handed. Like, we need to make sure this is culturally relevant in some way. Like it did, yeah. But I do think another scene that kind of almost felt that way, but I ended up enjoying the scene, was the sumo wrestling scene.
Dude, I fucking love sumo.
Yeah.
Like, I think sumo is awesome. Like, I think that those people are terrifying, powerful athletes. Like, if you can look, I think there was an episode of Deadliest Warrior where they actually showed you the amount of force in pounds of these people hitting each other. It is insane. It's nuts. Like, it's something. It's something close to a car crash, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing is like, these people, they're fucking huge.
Yeah, massive.
And it's open weight. That's the reason why they do that.
Yep.
But there's like recipes and stuff. Like, I think I was telling you about, like, you know, like high calorie foods from other cultures. Like there's a stew that they'll eat that like I actually have the recipe for that. But I mean, they'll just eat like a load of rice and go to sleep. But
Yeah.
I think sumo is great. Like I think it's awesome, and I think those athletes are hardcore.
I do too, and I think that that's what was really cool about this scene is like I think in the West there's almost like this characterization that happens to sumo that like it seems very friendly and happy-go-lucky, and I think that this scene showed how gritty and it is like, I mean, like the other half of it is wrestling, you know, even though it's not the Western wrestling we're used to. Like there is, you know, I mean, it is a physical, basically combat sport between two men trying to push each other out of a very small circle. But it was cool to see that side of it, like showing it a little more dark and gritty than I think the spin is normally put on it.
And it's if you watch, I mean, there's a couple of documentaries I've watched, like the places where sumos train. It's called a stable. And there's a hierarchical system based on seniority.
Okay.
So the ones that have actually won and are making money for the stable, they basically don't have to do anything. And then all the younger new people, they cook all the meals, they wash all the clothing, they clean everything. But the training they do is vicious. Like it's brutal. Like what they'll do is they'll take the sumo wrestlers in a line, they'll put their hands on each other's shoulders and they'll squat about maybe a third of the way down.
Okay.
And they have to walk the perimeter of the circle that they're intended to throw each other out of, and they'll hit them on the legs with these pieces of bamboo that are slitted. So when they hit you, they spread out and pinch your skin.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they do vicious stuff to these guys, and that's the thing that I think is so cool is that the way that the Japanese seem to do everything is like in a sushi restaurant, the first 2 to 3 years you work there, you wash rice.
Yeah.
They don't let you touch a knife.
Yeah, you're an apprentice doing
And when you finally touch a knife, you're cutting vegetables. You don't fuck with a fish for like years.
Yep.
So I think it's so cool that in some ways, and maybe a little discouraging, that the Japanese in many ways make a lot of the things that they do so difficult, but they make it to where like this is the entire focus of your life. But yeah, I know that's kind of a rabbit trail, but I just think sumo is so freaking cool.
No, and that is one thing that I think that is really cool and really interesting too, and that is one of the things that it felt like I don't know if necessarily like pandering is the right word, but it's like it felt like this movie was just doing that for the sake of doing it. You know what I mean? Like it didn't feel like as organic or natural as I think I wanted it to feel, I guess. It felt like this movie was just like, oh, how can we, like you were just saying with the scene with the mask. It was like, well, how can we fit this in to make sure that we remind you that this is Japan? And it was like it felt like you're saying the exploring the ideas of cultural sensitivity and integrating into a new culture and things like that. I think those are very important issues that I think it's a good thing to think about and explore. I just don't necessarily know if I feel like this movie did it in the best way. I think that there is better art that introduces those ideas, I guess. But
I agree. I think that if exploring culture is the main point or aim of a film, that I think that I agree that this maybe isn't the best one, because I think that more for me it's just the general idea of other and the other and the outsider. But you can even see like in one of the lines that Kyoshi has when he's talking to Nick about his sister, he says Yakuza can never have that. To become Yakuza is a choice. You trade one type of family for another. You can never go back. So even the criminals, even the gangs, they make it the same thing. Like this is your life.
Yeah.
It's like in The Last Samurai. I know a lot of people don't like the movie. It's sort of silly, but I love The Last Samurai. It's one of my favorite films.
I was hoping we could get through this entire episode without bringing up The Last Samurai and the parallels. You did it.
I'm gonna make a bet with anybody.
The streak is over. Okay, but no. Where were you going with that though?
There's a point where it's him narrating his own journal where he says, from the moment that they awake, they dedicate themselves to being the best at their craft.
Yeah.
They dedicate themselves to being the best at one thing. And that's something that I think is really cool about like the culture. And, like I think that in some ways Japanese culture is changing a little bit, especially from then. I don't know that they necessarily have as much of an honor shame kind of culture as they used to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a few other things that I kind of wanted to mention that they touch on a bit.
Well, there was one that I wanted to talk about. We were kind of just on the subject too. When he was told not to see Miyu, that was another thing that I thought was strange, and I feel like the movie either like something was cut out for time or what. But so at that point in the movie, we had not really seen any part of their relationship to understand why it was such a big deal that he stayed with her. You know what I mean? Like, if the movie had shown that they had this like amazing romance and he was so madly in love with her, then it would have made some sense. But it's like at that point in the movie, I'm just seeing a character that is like, you know, realizing he's getting, you know, involved with a very serious group of people, and one of them is straight up telling him point blank, don't see my sister, and he just ignores that. And it was like, I did not understand the character's motivation to not take that warning, and it just seemed like obvious, like, well, this is going to cause a problem, why are you doing this? And it, like, I just felt like the movie could have done some way of showing me why that was necessary for him to do.
It's like when we were watching, we were talking about Rambo Last Blood, like if he's supposed to be like this emotionally available uncle who like is there all the time, then how come he can't just tell her and have a close heart-to-heart conversation with her about like this thing so she doesn't, well, simply just because the plot needs to go somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's,
it's like, what do we need to do to get Rambo to the point where he kills everyone?
Yeah. But like I'm saying though, it may have just been interest of time, but it's like you could have very easily had 2 scenes before that of just showing, you know, take 2 generic love moments out of the Notebook type movies and and just show them having that type of romance for a few minutes. And it's like, oh, that's why he can't, because, you know, he's madly in love with her. But they didn't show that. They just showed them meeting and fucking. And I think that he had said to her, "You're really beautiful," you know, like that's all we know of their romance at that point is like, oh, he thinks she's hot. Okay. So it's like, it's just like, I don't know. It does the, you know, it just show me why he's so into her, I guess. Like make it make more sense. Make the choice, the choice that he was making felt like it had a lot of gravity to it. I think even in the moment there was like audio cues, you know, like the sound design is like, you know, not the like dun dun dun, but it like there was heavy ominous music that it's like, you know, he's fucking up. It's heavily foreshadowing like, hey dude, you're doing something you know you shouldn't be doing. So if it's going to be a situation or a decision he's making with that much gravity, I think that it should show me like why he feels like that's the right decision, I guess.
Yeah, I think that there's I agree with that whole part of the plot. I'm using the term plot loosely in this case, because he's just like, I'm Nick, I don't talk much. And she's like, I'm Miyu, like with the, you know, anime background.
Yeah.
Streaks and like, do you like my wig? Like, I mean, you know, it's...
Was that wasn't she in Deadpool 2? Was that the same actress?
I don't know. Played who?
Give me 1 second. Hold on. Yeah, say what you're going to say. I'm going to Google this real quick.
But yeah, I mean, it's like she's kind of there when he gets his tattoos done, and that's about it. And then, like, you know, next thing you know, she gets knocked up, and then, but you can also see like I like the fact that this shows a pivotal time.
Yeah, she was Yukio, and I thought so. In Deadpool 2. Yeah, I thought that was the same chick. Yeah,
I had no idea. That's weird. Oh, and that's another thing on the subject of Miyu. Was it Orochi? Wasn't that his name? Orochi. Yep. Orochi, was he jealous because of Miyu or because of Kiyoshi and the rest of the brothers, or was it all of that?
I mean, there was definitely all of that. At least that's what I get there, because there was that one scene where he was, you know, kind of getting like pretty inappropriate with Miyu and
yeah.
I mean, it seemed like he was gonna rape her, and then kind of saw himself in the mirror. And I don't know if that's what like made him realize that he needed to stop or what was going on. But yeah, I mean, he even in that scene kind of asked her, like, I mean, he point blank says like, "What does he have that I don't?" or whatever. So there's got to be some feelings of I don't know if it's necessarily jealousy or just wondering like if you see someone as an outsider. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, why are they so special then? They're not even one of us. Yeah, but.
Yeah, I mean, he calls him like like a white dog, and
Mhm.
like he goes, yeah, he goes all in on that one. But the interesting thing about Nick's character is you get most of the information about him from him running into his old military buddy.
Yeah, which I do think Emil, is it Emil Hirsch? How do you pronounce that guy's name? I think he was great in that scene. I
Oh
like that
yeah,
actor. Yeah.
he does good work. He's been in some weird roles.
He
But yeah, I
stars
think
in
he
one of the
was.
movies that I've got on the list, Into the Wild. I don't know if you've ever seen that one,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah. I forgot he was in that.
yep, he's the main character. Yeah.
Um. Oh yeah, that's
That was a great twist though, and that was one moment where, so like up to I forget how far in the movie that was. It's at least like I think it feels like it's like past the hour mark, but I was like, we know nothing about this Nick character. I was like, what the hell is going on? And I did appreciate that it gave us that little twist, and you learn about his backstory a little bit. I did really, I think that was well done, and I liked that. Even though really all you learn is that he was a captain in the army, I guess. But
I mean, I think apparently he like did something not so good in his unit. I can't remember exactly what the guy said, but he almost like kind of talks about ratting him out. And I think that there is some understanding that if Nick goes back to the States, he'll face some kind of something.
yes, and I couldn't tell if it was just being AWOL or if there was something like you were saying, if there was something that happened that he was also in trouble for, or was just simply that he I guess deserted or left or whatever.
It sounded almost like he was saying that Nick committed like a war crime or something. Like it sounded like rough, but
yeah, but they don't go into it though. Yeah.
yeah. And it is kind of funny because you talk about like how the almost generic Japanese culture thing that they try to do, that they almost talk about that in like a meta kind of sense, because the scene where Kyoshi finds out that Nick got his sister pregnant, and he gives him the katana and the wakizashi.
Yeah.
And tells him like what they are, what they're for.
Yep.
And then he's like, oh, so here you have to protect her now. This is your family or whatever. The part where he shows up as they're initiating Orochi into the other gang.
Yes. Yeah.
And he actually says to him, he's like, you think this makes you Yakuza?
Yeah.
And like,
yep.
holds up the sword.
Yep.
And so like, you think this cheap representation of Japanese culture? You're still an outsider. But
I think those are interesting ideas, and that is a very good way that scene does do, I think, a good way of making you explore those ideas. So yeah, there are some good nuggets of thought in this, definitely.
Like I understand why you didn't like love the movie. I get why you wouldn't recommend it to other people. I don't think you're crazy. This is not one of those times where like, I mean, with Craig, I was shocked that he didn't like Drive.
And also
that movie,
the best like piece of constructive criticism I've gotten from a just random viewer involved like Craig's position on that episode, and he basically just didn't defend it at all. I mean, they were basically saying that it was like, I forget how they worded it, but they were like, this is one of my first episodes listening to you guys, and the fact that this guy doesn't defend it makes me not want to listen to you guys anymore, basically. So it was like, I mean, literally, I don't know if you should take Craig's position on that episode as like something to emulate or look up to, but yeah.
I almost kind of feel like he was being a contrarian in that episode. Like I really almost feel like he didn't like it because he realized that everybody else did.
Yeah, that was almost that was the point that the person made in the comment, is they even called him the contrarian guy who doesn't defend his position or whatever.
Because when I did the devil's advocate thing for Greasy Strangler, I think I did an excellent job.
Yeah, exactly, very much so.
I think that was great.
And yeah, I think that it's of course fine, and I would say encouraged to have a dissenting opinion, as long as you've got ways to support it, or at least like explain why you feel a certain way.
Well, did you think, because that's something that I wanted to mention your opinion on, do you think Akihiro should have kept the offer to like invest, and do you think he was being foolishly stubborn or foolishly prideful in that he like took it as like this honor thing where it was like I won't. You want me to pay you? Like, who the hell are you? Like, you young whippersnapper.
That's tough. I can see both sides of the argument, and I love the way that Nick even words it in the scene where they're kind of debating that, and I forget the other guy's name, but he says something about how it's a fight we won't win, and Nick's response is that it doesn't matter who wins. And I took that as like it's the fight worth having because it's the right thing to do, and if you go down fighting, it doesn't matter because it's about making the point. I see that argument, but I also see the pragmatist side of like, save yourself, like what the fuck is the point of laying down your life when you could literally choose to get out of it? So it just depends on how married to the idea that you're supporting or being loyal to is.
In that scene with Nick in particular, it's like, bro, your good buddy who helped you out in a bunch of ways just got killed. He handed you 2 heirlooms from his family and charged you with being responsible for the safety of his sister. Yep. And you're going to go off here and like do your whole little like yakuza thing. Like, I understand the principle and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was risking his life throughout the film. Like, I mean, after the scene where, Akihito gets shot and then Kiyoshi's already dead, and then he goes so far as to go to like the headquarters of the rival gang and confront the other person. Like, I think that it was all very reckless, especially being that. But yeah,
they do show you that she was well protected. It's not like he just like left her like
he could have gotten fucking killed.
Well, yes,
so,
yeah.
And then what then? Like, so she has to raise a kid by herself. That shit's lame.
Yeah,
nobody got time for that. Like, literally, who has time for that? But yeah, I think that Jared does the spooky, mysterious, quiet guy role really well. I think he plays the role great. I recognize the character's not super complex, but for me, it was really more the concepts and themes of the film that I found interesting, because there's some stuff that I think that if you want to entertain your
cat's
cat,
going crazy.
Leave a bottle cap on the floor.
You know what I found that my cat fucking loves? The
Outsider?
The 1967. No, dude, the normal like rubbery hairband. Oh my god, he goes crazy over these things. It's so funny. He'll like pick it up with his teeth and his claw on one and then let it go, and it'll actually like fly like 30 feet. He's great. He's great.
It's actually kind of cool. Them Siamese cats is smart.
Don't let him hear you say that.
Oh,
Booth, you're stupid. No,
he's cocky enough as it is.
Yeah.
I recognize it, like as a film, like with the typical things that you think that a film should deliver. I recognize that this doesn't, but for me in particular, I think that it just made me think about some things. And I think kind of facing sort of the climate that I think that we're in, it's important for us to recognize things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And see like, how prejudices happen and why and what contributes to them, and to recognize how and why they've changed over time and how they may continue to change.
Yeah.
The whole idea of an other or an outsider is something that I think is an instinctive part of like human tribalism.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't really work quite so well anymore.
Exactly.
Causing a lot more problems than it should.
I think it's like a cultural vestigial thing. It's like a cultural appendix. Like it no longer serves a purpose, but we're stuck with it.
And I know you usually ask like why did you choose the film? And if I'm honest, like I don't really know why. Like I just kind of liked it.
Cool. Okay.
It didn't necessarily strike any kind of chord with me. Like there's a lot of stuff I didn't think about the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
That I thought about like more this second time. So there's a lot of things that popped out to me that didn't occur to me at all before. And I'm kind of glad that they did. For that reason, I'm kind of glad that we watched it, just because of that.
And that's another thing I appreciate about this film too is even though it's just an action movie, it does have the stuff in there to make you think a little bit. And I like that. And I'm all for people, thinking a little deeper and, maybe taking a new perspective on looking at things and stuff. So any type of movie that does that, I think it's great. It doesn't necessarily have to be a super heady movie to just introduce a few concepts or ideas to make someone think.
And outside of like the plot and the character development, the acting, the movie's shot really well.
Yeah.
They use lighting great, like in like dark rooms and things like that. The way that there's shadows in his apartment, the colors and in the scenes that they're in, like the spots, like even like this small tiny piece of street in front of the Taylor where they park, like that right there, like just that little tiny angle right there looks awesome.
It did the period very well. It felt very 1954 the whole time. Yeah.
And even the port where they meet at the end, the place that they go to do the initiation and the tea ceremony with Nick, like all those things were put together really well. And like the way that they follow the characters in the scene when they're walking back into the area in the forest, like that stuff is all done really, really well.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, there's still plenty of good things. I mean, visually, I think that's what struck me the most about the film when I first saw it. Was like I just liked the way that they filmed it, and the way that they lit the scenes. Like I just thought that stuff was really cool.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. The besides just the actual like logistics of the cinematography and the lighting and all that, I think just the aesthetic was great a lot too. The period aesthetic, everything.
Going on a little bit, yeah.
This movie really made me want the like Grand Theft Auto 6 to have a Japanese area. This movie made me like want there to be like also the Yakuza in GTA 6. So Rockstar, get on that.
Made me want to get a back tattoo. Not one of those, but not specifically.
Yeah, you already have your tramp stamp, right? Don't you?
Well, it's my upper back.
No, I thought you had your tramp stamp done, don't you?
What? No. What?
Yeah, I thought you had it's the Last Supper, but they're all Care Bears.
No, it says Outsiders 1967.
Oh, that's right.
The Care Bears Last Supper tramp stamp.
That would be a good piece. I just thought of that off the top of my head, but that would be a hilarious piece.
I feel like that might be a deal breaker for anyone that I dated ever. They just be like, "That's a what with who? Okay, we're done."
Or Smurfs. Oh my God.
Oh, the Smurfs would be even better.
And the one person on, you know how one of the people on the Last Supper, people claim that it's Mary Magdalene. There's like a debate on that. Yeah, get that one as Smurfette.
It should be someone completely out of character. It should be like April O'Neil from Ninja Turtles.
That would be interesting. Okay, yeah, I could see that.
Smurfette would be cool though. That would work.
Is there anything else left on your notes that we didn't touch on yet?
Not really. I think we touched on everything that I wanted to talk about. I am very interested to hear your favorite line this week.
It's a bad one. I am embarrassed of my favorite line. I wish I would have picked a different one. Let's see. But before we do favorite line, so next week is The Lighthouse. I am excited to watch that. Yeah, I haven't seen literally anything about this. I know it's like a weird movie. It stars Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, and I think it's like literally just the two of them. I think that's the entire cast. And from what I heard, it's two men in a lighthouse losing their mind. So I'm into it. It sounds like an interesting film. So
I may need a therapist after this.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a weird one. But all right, so for favorite line from The Outsider. Stay golden, pony boy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to. But guys, yeah, name your content something that's easily searchable. Just embrace the Googleability of things. I don't know why movies can get away with it where you're just allowed to name the same thing as something else. I feel like a lot of stuff is copywritten where you can't do that. So I don't understand why movies literally in a lot of medium, it's like year based, like if an album, actually I don't know if music does it, but either way, if a piece of media uses a title, there's a certain number of years until another piece of that same genre can use the title or whatever. There was a movie that came out the following year in 2019 also called The Outsider. So apparently movies just don't have that rule at all. It's strange.
Dude, we should make a movie and call it The.
We would get so many hits on our website.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, my favorite line from this movie, God, I'm such a fucking idiot. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry.
Favorite line's just as dumb.
Yes, my actual favorite line is just fucking stupid. I'm so sorry, guys. My favorite line from The Outsider was, "There's a baby in me. There's a baby in me." And that's what I was saying, where I feel like it's a translation thing. I bet the way you say "I'm pregnant" in Japanese is similar to that, and when translated to English it makes a lot of sense. But that moment when it's supposed to be a serious moment and she's telling him that she's pregnant and she says it as "there's a baby in me," it made me laugh.
It is a little weird. Like, it is an awkward line because it's kind of sitting there like, yeah.
It's a weird way of saying it.
Yeah, it's quite different. I would be a little. I don't know how I would feel if somebody whose first language was English said that. Maybe that's a little weird.
And in all reality, it was hard for me to pick an actual favorite line because most of the good lines were in Japanese.
Yeah,
I would say that a lot of the dialogue is in Japanese in this movie.
I mentioned before the episode that I was legitimately going to try to like learn this line in Japanese and then translate it, but that's just silly. So I'm going to try to sound as rough as he did, but there's an effect about someone being tough and stern in Japanese you just can't get in any other language.
Yeah,
you just can't get it anywhere else.
Just like you can't get anger anywhere that's as like angry as German. Like, yeah, German anger is just its own thing. Like, yeah.
So yeah. You call this an offer of respect? You know nothing of your father's generation. We are wolves. We are not dogs. Can you keep wolves inside a fence? Careful on your way back to Kobe.
Yeah, that was a good one. Guys, that is going to bring us to the end of this episode of the Metacast Movie Show. If you're watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the discussion, hit that like button, subscribe to keep up to date, and comment below and tell us how you felt about The Outsider. And if you want to further keep up to date or even join us as a guest on a future episode, please join our Discord. The link is in the description down below. And we'll be live next week on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TylerTV. Thanks everyone for listening, and I hope you have a great week.